in there at this point. They believe he is still very much so armed and dangerous. We spoke to a person who was inside just a few moments ago. He says that one of his friends is actually locked inside of the bathroom at the nightclub right now and was wounded in the arm by one of those gunshots. He says several other people are also inside of that restroom with him. And just on live TV, I'm not sure if you guys were able to hear that back at the station. And Pete, we can point that direction, but we just heard a loud explosion that just happened coming from that direction. Now, we have been seeing some bomb-sniffing dogs that have been walking this area. We've also seen several different armed police officers with them in bomb gear. We were told at one point that this suspect may be wearing a bomb vest. And again, we have just learned, or we've just heard, a loud explosion that happened in the direction where the nightclub is actually located. This was a Orlando police vehicle that is holding now I'm jogging with Pete. This was holding several patients that were in the back of this truck. And in the back of this truck, we actually saw people who appeared to be wounded. They had some of their clothes ripped off, and then they were rushed to the hospital versus having an ambulance. And I'm seeing them walk in right now. Several police are still at this scene. Several doctors also there as well. You know what's happening right now? This lends me to believe, because of the speed, don't go across the street. This lends me to believe that this situation at the club may be coming towards an end, because it looks like investigators are bringing people that they may have not been able to get to a little bit earlier. So we want to stay at this location because we have, Pete, if we could zoom in just a little bit closer towards the entrance, you can see several doctors are still standing by, waiting for potential more people to come from inside of that nightclub to this location. Also, one area that we've been trying to shield somewhat from is because of the tremendous amount of people and family that have been out here as well, concerned about their loved ones. We have several different people that are just consoling each other at this point because of the horror that potentially their loved ones had to go through tonight. So again, you're seeing different OR and ER people on standby, potentially waiting for more patients. We have another pickup truck that's coming down the street at this point. That pickup truck is speeding, being waved through by officers, and you see it here. These police officers actually have someone that's disturbing to see, but there's a person who is injured in the back of that truck, lying down, looks like a female, and now about to be loaded onto a gurney. This is a lot. Be careful with this shot, Pete, just in case this person could be gravely wounded. We're not sure at this point, but because of the supply of trucks and ability to get them up and down the street at a lot quicker pace, those are being used in lieu of ambulances. But you can see the amount of doctors that are responding to get these people from that location down the street, loaded onto the back of those trucks, and then rushed here to ORMC. And Brett, as you can see, there are still more doctors waiting for more and more patients to come. This is the second pickup that we've seen in the past 30 seconds. Michelle, you've been watching this with me. But as you mentioned, the raw emotion of the people that have been witnessing this, that they have their loved ones that they're uncertain about whether or not they're actually coming out. Right. We've been still waiting to hear back from Orlando police as to whether or not this situation is over. Obviously, they're bringing people who were inside the club to the hospital at this point, but we do not know if that situation has also ended. So it's still a very developing story.
What did you hear down at the club about the gunman or gunmen?
Well, see, what I heard originally from witnesses who were actually inside of the nightclub, they say that as soon as they were during the middle of the party, someone came in, opened fire on them, and when that fire first began, that's when they started to duck for cover. Once they ducked for cover, they were told by numerous other people that it was all just a joke and things were going to calm down. At that point, people started to stand, go back to the party because the music was still playing at that point. But as one witness points out to me, they looked up and the DJ was no longer there, potentially having seen the muzzle shots behind them that they were unaware of. That's when more shots started to ring out again. Upwards of 50 shots is what one witness was telling me, and at that point, that's when other people started to try and crawl out of that building. So Bob, you know, a very fluid situation where a lot of people saw a lot of people hurt and dead there as well. Well, Brett, that witness actually told me they saw a vehicle pull up and that's when they first started to hear those shots, and that vehicle was left in the middle of the road, and they saw someone running towards the nightclub. Now, obviously, that's unconfirmed at this point. That person says they hightailed out of there after they shot that video, but it's potentially that they believe, at least that witness believes, that that was the shooter who was actually running towards the nightclub after first firing those shots. But again, Kirby, if you could just zoom in and we can see it, where the setup for more potential victims is already ready from these folks here at ORMC. They are preparing Bob for more victims to come to this location.
I'm listening to you guys too because you guys can get information and you'll let us know. Like if there's how many fatalities, when you're letting the public know, then we'll know and nobody else is telling us. Right. So you're gonna find out who's shot, how many fatalities and how many they have here, or if they go to other hospitals. So I know you guys are doing a good job. So thank you, and I'm going to stay by you guys too so I can hear what the updates are.
We're just so sorry for the fact that you're having to go through this, and I mean, we're seeing more and more patients coming in.
Which is good.
Which some, I mean, are voicing. We can hear this one patient who's being taken in right now. So, I mean, to know that there are several people who are alive, we're going to continue to pray that your son is among them that does come out of this building. Earlier, we did hear a loud explosion at our post here at ORMC from that scene, which is just less than a mile away, and that was at Pulse. Let's take a listen as we were doing that earlier live report at the moment that they detonated a device. This was a device that was exploded by OPD. One of my sources with law enforcement here locally, that one of the people who was actually shooting inside the club when they first took hostages and was negotiating with the hostage negotiator, that this person was wearing a vest that police believed was a bomb, and they relayed to police that they were actually wearing a bomb. Now, obviously, these are unconfirmed reports from officials who were at this scene. This is from a law enforcement source who told me that this was possibly the case. That's when we started to see the Orange County Bomb Squad actually came to this location to help out with this investigation. We also saw the bomb dogs that were searching the different vehicles throughout the parking lot here at ORMC, and we saw a specialist who was dressed in a bomb suit also walking around with that dog to ensure that no explosive devices were found. That's when we heard that explosion earlier. Potentially a device was found. It could have been harmless, but OPD did decide to explode that device here just a block away from us. As we zoom out again, it looks like they're bringing more gurneys out here at the emergency room, potentially preparing for more victims to come to this location. Several doctors are also still walking out as well. One of the biggest issues that's also going on out here is people have gathered at this location because they are uncertain whether or not their loved ones were injured, whether or not they're alive, whether or not they're in the hospital, whether or not they're still locked in there. A lot of people have not been able to get in contact with their loved ones at this point, and that's one of the most scary things that is happening here at this location. A lot of these police officers have been forced to answer questions that they just simply don't know the answer to. So, Brett, this is a developing story. Information that we have been able to receive from inside a Pulse nightclub is from a witness who actually has one of his friends who's locked in the bathroom at Pulse nightclub. Not sure if that person was among the people who was brought into this location. That witness is a little bit further down from where we are actually standing right now, but we were told that the bathroom door was locked and that several people inside of the bathroom were injured. Several people also had already passed away, and several people were wounded and just waiting to find their way out. They were waiting for police. This was around 4 o'clock this morning when they first spoke to this witness, and they were trying to get their way out of the nightclub, waiting for police to come and rescue them. And at that point, they said that they were very fearful that they would possibly die while waiting. Now, we have not learned of any information as to whether or not police have been able to get those shooters out of that nightclub. That's still part of the developing story.